Thank you very much. Welcome. Hello, guys. Hear me well? So, good afternoon. I have to say, I think I did the organization a favor and I had 3 beers in the interval. So, in 7 minutes, I will have to go to pee. So, it's not going to last so long. And the other thing that has been pretty amazing is when I see everyone that is here, I feel like the grandpa of the speakers. It's a really nice at 41. So, I hope you enjoy my Brazilian, Japanese, British, German accent. And I will talk about this challenge that we have in this slightly mature industry, which is the print industry, about 500 years old. So, if you compare to WhatsApp and other companies that are about 10 years old, and then they've done so much, being sold for 19 billion. And we're talking about other publishers like Simon Schuster that have been struggling to sell to another group for a decade, and they haven't managed to do that because their prices is just, it's incompatible with the with the expectations of their investors. But nevertheless, it's I think it's in those times, I think these are the very exciting times we have to innovate a lot, try to do things different, not be convinced that it's all over. Print, I think, in a sense, and I have to thank Kai for what he was saying. There's so many things about print. It's becoming a deluxe product, or is still relevant, or is it still not relevant? I think we'll talk a little bit about that here. We're living in this age where we have a lot of everything. It's not just, there's a little bit here, a little bit that. No, we have a lot of everything. So what I did here once was this. I had to explain to my assistant. We were talking about, how things are going to move. And so basically I did 2 of these funnels, so to speak. The first one with a very thin line is how it used to work about 30 years ago. It's like you have where the first horizontal line is the content producers. The one in the middle, in blue, is content distributors, and in the bottom we have content consumers. And let's say 20 years ago, 25, 30 years ago, we had very few people producing content, and you had to go through these gatekeepers. There were very few people, and I'm talking about TV stations, radio stations, publishers, doing books, magazines, everything. And these are like very, very few people. It's actually in proportion. It's much, much, tighter than what it is there. And then, of course, there were people, consuming content on the bottom. What happened in the last 20 years with internet and all this DIY way of doing things is that, as we were seeing here, like people do magazines on their own, they do books on their own, and they do videos on their own, is that it's widened dramatically. Then you have a lot of people producing more content. You have many more people serving as gateways to those contents because, they can distribute themselves as well. And then you have many, many more people consuming content as well. It sounds like an obvious thing to do, but if you're dealing with an industry that is trying to, create value by what we've done for about 500 years, it's quite a lot of challenge. So it's what I tend to look at is this media accumulation that is gone through and how we fragmented the way we use our time. So this is about in the 50s, how much stuff we would deal with. These are, you don't even need to read, but it's just about an idea what the kind of stuff you would have as medium to communicate and to register, to save. And then this is about what we have now. It's slightly more than we had before. And, I swear to you, I didn't change my presentation after the first one. I don't know what that is. I mean, I just heard about that yesterday when I did the presentation, but some of you will know. But this is the difference. I mean, the difference is very clear. We used to have 5 things to communicate with, and now we have maybe 500. I start relationships, and I keep having relationships in using so many different media. There are people that just use Facebook Messenger, and there are other people that will just use WhatsApp. Other people just use email. Some people will use all of them, and we know how it is. And if you're doing a product that is not passive, that demands your active attention to be consumed, that becomes a real challenge. Things are not coming to you. You have to go and experience them. And I think that's what the revolution in video is happening, for example. There is one really interesting study launched about, I think it's better now, right? About 4 years ago by a German research institute called Fraunhofer. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's one of the biggest research institutes in Europe, about 2 billion euros of research budget. And they launched this thing that, every publisher will have to be a media company in the future. Whether people are prepared for that, then that's a completely different question. But they will have to be. And we've been trying to do that in a number of ways. We experimented doing books just for the iPad, and we did some apps, and we're trying to go digital as much as we can. At the same time, what is interesting as well is that print became much, much more important. And print is connected to the internet in sometimes weird ways. For example, give you a tip if you're doing a book. If you select a name for your book, you better have your name, together with your name, a subtitle, together with the title of the book, a subtitle to it. Because that's the likability that you'll be found in an online environment is much, much higher. So it's such a simple thing, so instead of, you can do like a very abstract title, but then do a very direct subtitle, or just do the other way around. But the books, they're becoming like this very interesting product now that it has to be so special that there's no competition to it in a digital environment, which makes then the possibility of me making a digital product that will not compete with the book as well. So I was just talking to people yesterday and talking about one project that we did. It's a book on information graphics, like probably here, information is beautiful. And when we decided to do the book, we said, we're going to probably sell, 10, 15,000 copies and so on. But the people that will buy this book, they'll buy it anyway. So we'll do this. We'll make it more expensive, more interesting, bigger, special colors, everything. And because the people they'll buy it anyway. So, the market is already there. We're risking very little by making those enhancements. And what happened is that in 3 weeks, it sold out. We print the second print run. Now we're in the 4th print run. So we realized, actually, there are people that want to have that, but when they see that this book is not just an ordinary book anymore, then there's much more than people expect as well, and then they will go for it, because it is really a special product. So it is, in a sense, just going back to what Kai said, it's becoming somehow the luxury of it. What do I have here? I can have it here as well. So the time that we have is the only stable variable that we have in our lives, and we're dividing this time more and more. So whatever we do, we have to try to do something that is relevant. What I think is interesting now with digital is that volume is generating a lot of innovation. The more we do, the more ideas out of the box will come out of it, because the competition is much, much bigger. So you can't do just the next app that will do like a little, photo effect or something like that. You have to go the next step. And I think that will happen with books as well. You know, we just heard this week, that Overdrive was bought by Rakuten, for example. You know, so the whole environment of books, they're changing a lot in the digital sphere. One thing that I just want to mention, I have 13 seconds to do that, but it's now I'm 17 seconds over, actually. To think nonlinear is this thing. Because we have so much now at the same time, don't think that whatever you do, your product, they compete with the product in the same category. It doesn't. It competes with everything. We're competing for people's time. So if you want to be relevant, it's about making that piece of time relevant. It doesn't matter. That's why I think, when people say, oh, what is your competition? I say it's Facebook, or it's, it could be Starbucks. It was so funny. I did a talk in Spain for some, MBA graduates and so on. So I said that, our competition is actually Starbucks. So the agency that had the account of Starbucks in Spain sent us a lot of boxes of coffee the other day. It's like the goodwill of the competition. Very quickly, what I try to connect here is, if you want to take note, this is the first law of Julius, 30, 30, 40. Don't be ashamed, just use it, just credit, which is, I think, I try to do 30% on the comfort zone when I try to talk about content and how to engage people. So, and then another 30% is the curiosity zone. So you achieve the first 30% that people feel that they have something to do with it, don't have to explain. Then the second 30% is the curiosity zone. And then you just jump to the last 40%, which is the learning zone. And I think that's extremely important, to create this chain of connection to what you do. Whatever, if it's digital or if it's analog, or connecting digital with analog, that's something that I always use as a personal idea of that. So the rest of it is just, use technology as much as you can. Even though we print, we're looking at, digital in a very curious way and see what is going to happen. And we're hoping it's going to end up well. And never forget to have an interesting life. I mean, that's the only thing that matters, just really. Thank you very much.